First of all, I'm the real Ron Burgundy and Gold.
Yeah. You got that W on your helmet now.
Yeah.
Hey, tight end is the quarterback's best friend unless his name Logan.
Yeah. We've got a dog that can play nickel for us, right?
Y'all can't see that, right?
Collect.
Another great show for you, Commanders family. We have actual highlights. That's right, we'll be breaking down off-season highlights. Then our guys get in the film room and break down all things defensive backs. And then, of course, we got another rookie in the building. We are just chilling with safety, Dominique Hampton. And Commanders family, it all starts now. Welcome into Command Center, presented by SeatGeek, the official primary ticketing partner of the Washington Commanders. Brian Coble Jr. here with Santana Moss, Fred Smoot, Logan Paulson. And fellas, football is back, which means we actually have highlights to watch. Can you believe it? So you know what? I ain't even gonna ask y'all no questions. Let's get right into these highlights. First up, we have number 0, Marcus Mariota, throwing it to the left side. To who's that? That man, Terry McLaurin.
Mama, they go that man.
There go that man.
I gotta get used to Mariota in that 0. I've never seen a quarterback in 0. I gotta get used to that.
Well, get used to it, because you know what? There's something else I think we're going to get used to seeing, and that is Jayden Daniels throwing a touchdown dime to Zach Ertz in the back of the end zone. Man, that looked good.
Hey, tight end is the quarterback's best friend unless his name Logan.
And sorry, that's right. But Zach Ertz, man, he's been having a great kind of OTA period. The nuance, the savvy, making the quarterback right more often than not. Love to see that.
They like it hurt, too.
and Tanner, as the Cowboy killer, how cool is it to see a world-renowned Philadelphia Eagle be there making plays?
I mean, you know one of the things about it, man, you just got to come out here and make plays, regardless of who you are and where you're from, man.
Yeah.
You got that W on your helmet now.
Yeah.
So you family now.
Hey, you family, man.
Look at the touch on this ball right here.
We gotta love our next highlight.
And this catch too, man. This is pros putting in work, and that shows you the inches that you have in the NFL to make plays.
That's special also from a young guy, man. Like, you know, when we run this fade route, they have that red line on the field for that purpose, saying, hey, we want to get the ball here, not so much inside, and he put it dead on the money.
And Logan, how important is it to see a guy like Jahan Dotson making plays like that? Somebody we've talked about all season long.
I think it's great because it shows a nice maturation. You know, you didn't get it on this clip, but like the release to the line of scrimmage was high level. The catch was high level. The body control was high level. And you were talking about guys having good off seasons and progressing. Love to see that from him in terms of cultivating and developing a skill set.
And Logan, you said it perfectly, high level. Our head coach, Dan Quinn, has said nothing but great things about Jayden Daniels and his development. Let's take a listen.
You know, as we're getting started, like it's a big passing camp. So for the quarterbacks, they're getting some really good looks. You know, there's a number of coverages now that have gone in, you know, from the first day of where it was maybe just 3 deep and man-to-man. So to see that type of progress from he and from the other quarterbacks, I think that's good. In weeks ahead, we'll add team things to it and blitzes and, you know, a pocket and that kind of stuff. But I think what jumps not only off the tape here, what you guys don't see in the meeting room is just the competitive nature and the learning and the command that he has already. And so that's something that speaks to his work ethic.
Fellas, high praise from a man that has seen some elite quarterback play. So let's get right into it. Fred, what have you seen from your rookie quarterback in Jayden Daniels?
How he takes in and absorbs the playbook. Like, you would think it'll take him a while to get going. The first practices we was out there, he was changing plays, telling people where to get. So him having that understanding of a playbook that's been in his face, probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it shows me that he has a high learning curve, and you need that from any great quarterback in this league.
Definitely impressed with him. I think one of the things I'm going to keep doing is not try to get too far ahead, because I always want to pump my brakes because I want him to be successful. But I think some of the things that stand out, just some of the things that he's shown on the field already, you know, footwork, you know, how he gets that ball out of his hand, that ball jumps out of his hand, and then just his, you know, comfortability already with some of the things that he's been thrown into. So that would stand out to me.
Yeah, I definitely think he's shown a maturity in terms of learning the offense and getting understanding. But I think when you watch him practice, right, the confidence that he has out there, I think is really important, right? He knows, versus this coverage, this concept's dead. I know I got to get to my check down, and there's no wasted movement. There's no delay. Ball's out. The physical tools are there, but I think, like Fred said, the mental kind of scaffolding is there as well, and that's always extremely encouraging with a young quarterback.
And fellas, we haven't seen a lot, right? But it's fun to speculate. And Tana, you play with a quarterback or two.
Yeah.
Or 2, or 3, or 7 or 8 or 9. So you know, so you know better than anybody what it's like being that veteran in that locker room with Terry, a Zach Ertz. How important is it for them to build that chemistry with this young quarterback so quickly?
It's vital. I mean, honestly, I think one of the things that you take for granted is that they're young, for one. You look at this game and you say, man, I'm going to go out there and do my job. But it doesn't rely on just you doing your job. You need everybody to do their job, especially the guy that's throwing you the ball. So I think this time of the year is very vital for those guys to get in there and get familiar with each other. You know, understand what he's seeing, you know, off the field and on the field. You know, get into the classroom like, man, what do you see in this play so I can know what I can do? And I didn't do that often, probably as much as I should have, but I think later in my years, when I didn't have to be the guy, that's when I got more vocal with the guy, because I wanted the other guys to shine, because now they're going to help me come in and shine on third down. So I think it's very critical for those guys to get in there and get familiar, and I think this is the time to do it.
I know Cliff said this is an air raid offense, but he has his foundation in air raid. And when you look at air raid, one of the things that comes up all the time is the individual adjustments per route. Hey, this is a post versus this coverage, this is a comeback versus this coverage, but it's all called the same route. And the only way you get that is if you're on the same page and you're studying film together, right? So in terms of comfortability, obviously throwing catch of the football is important, but how we're seeing the defense, how we're seeing the offense, also extremely critical.
And what receivers are comfortable with. Some receivers like it back shoulder, some people like it over the shoulder. Like, you can only get those things by repetition. I like that when we complete that pass, but man, if you could throw that a little bit right here, it changes and then it becomes unique. And that's the when you see a good quarterback and a great wide receiver, if they can just look at each other and say nothing, and they didn't already change the play on you, they've been ripping that for years.
One of the things about this time of the year too is, and this is going to go on throughout the season period, I think when you're out there, you know, repping those plays live against a defense, you have that chance to be able to say, let's do this over when no one's out there. Now I can get that rep alone so I can see what you want from me, because you always need to get it twice, you know what I mean? And especially with a young guy, I just always tell, you know, RG3, let's stay out to practice. I did that for my confidence and for his confidence to make sure he know he can count on me next time we do that route.
And that word chemistry is so important when you talk about a quarterback and a wide receiver. The word changes a little bit when you talk about offensive line, and it's more about that trust. How do you build trust between this new look offensive line and a new quarterback, Logan?
I'm glad you said trust, Brian, because it's a little bit different, right? It's like I have to have confidence that you know what you're doing, you know the assignment, you're going to use the right techniques, and the hard part about right now is we're not seeing a lot of offensive line work, right? It's all individual work with the offensive line. They haven't come together as a team, so the only way as a quarterback I can see that is like if Biotish comes up to him and says, hey, on this, like, how do you want me to call this protection? I'm going to call it like this, make sure you're protected up, make sure we're sound, or you can make this throw. So it's going to be in the classroom more than on the field, but I think it's extremely important because when you look at the development for a young quarterback, being able to sit in the pocket and throw the football, that's the number one priority, and I think this offensive line, they got to gel and show Jayden that they can trust him.
I think offensive line is like, y'all remember the old group, the Four Tops? Like when they perform, they need to all be on the same timing. When I think of an offensive line, I think of a group, a music group that has to be on the same accord and do the same things at the same level at the same time. It don't work. Like one person in this could ruin it for the whole group. So I think once I think that's another thing. It just takes reps, man. It takes reps and problem solving. We can't solve a problem until we know what the problem is.
And Fred, you talk about those reps. It's what we're seeing right now is reps against air, essentially. Like 10 always says, like this is reps against air. But we just found out we'll be doing joint practices with Miami. Now, Fred, I gotta imagine you were the type brother that love the joint practice. Because now you got freshmen, you got people that you could clown on that's not on your team, man. How important are those joint practices?
I got fresh enemies out here, and it's also great work. I can only go against Santana so much at practice before he know my habits, I know his habits, no matter what the route is. This is a clear test when you coming out here, and these guys want to one up us just like we want to do them. But also, I find that even with preseason games, we get more out of practices with a team because now all the secret stuff that you don't want to show on film, you can do those things at practice. You can do that at practice. I think we get more as players out of it. I did when we practiced against New England. I did when we practiced against anybody because now it's iron sharpening iron in a way that I can identify with everybody.
And you talk about those tests, right? Well, the preseason is a huge test because, again, you mentioned it. We'll be playing Miami week 2, and those tests are huge for free agent guys, right? These veteran guys that we brought in that want to prove themselves. A guy like Michael Davis. Guy like Michael Davis, we got to sit and talk to him, but before we hear from him, let's take a look at his career numbers. It's time for our off-season lucky numbers, presented by Maryland Lottery Fast Play Games. Play fast, win fast today, but please play responsibly. Now the California native is entering his 8th season in the league after spending last season with the LA Chargers. Davis brings a veteran presence to the Commanders' defensive back room alongside safety Jeremy Chin, who both signed with Washington during free agency. We got a chance to talk to our new defensive back about his excitement to learn not only from head coach Dan Quinn, but our new defensive coordinator, Joe Witt Jr. Dan Quinn, head coach over here, and you just smile when you say it, right? All these players just smile and light up when that name is mentioned. What about Dan Quinn makes you say, you know what, I'm gonna come play for him and be a Commander?
Because he's a stud, dog. Like he's a leader. He's what you want in a head coach. You mean like he's super energetic. You mean all that rah stuff, but he's genuine, though. You mean like you don't want like a leader that's fake. You mean, and I feel like with DQ, like he's a real dog. Like you mean. Yeah. So I'm honored to be a part of his team. Like I'm honored for him to coach me and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's dope, man. And talk about dogs. You got a defensive coordinator in Joe Witt Jr., who is just known for having some of the craziest secondaries this NFL has ever seen. You smiling about that too, man. How excited are you to get to work with Joe Witt? And what has those initial conversations been like with him?
I'm excited to go to work with Joe Witt because I know that he develops corners.
Yes.
And I know that I'm 8 years in, but I still know that I have an extra level to go to. And I know that with Joe Witt, he's able to tap into that potential for me. He's able to help me tap into that potential. So I know that I can skyrocket my game with him. So.
Great to have a free agent like Michael Davis. Should be a promising member of this secondary. And somebody that knows a little bit about secondaries is my boy, Fred Smoot. Him and Tanner hanging out with Professor Paulson to break down all things secondary.
Guys, we got a little bit of a doozy today. We're talking about nickel linebackers and dime linebackers and what the difference is and who could potentially fill those roles on this team. So first, let's talk about nickel. So here's the offense, right? Center, guard tackle, tight end, fullback, running back.
That's so 1980 right there.
Yes, 1980, that's exactly right. So we would match defensively with 3 linebackers, right? So offenses were like, why don't we put a fast guy here and then walk him out? Because now this big dude has to walk out, which is essentially like me if we put Tana in the field and I would have to walk out with Tana.
Mismatch, bad decision.
And so Tana, when you see this, it's like I'm stealing from a baby, right?
Yeah, like I'm stealing from a baby, but I'm also saying, you know what, they're trying to trick me. Something's up.
Yeah. So what I would say is that as a defensive coordinator, I don't want my big run-stopping linebacker out here. So I'm going to take Fred Smoot out here, and we're going to and I feel much better. Much better about this matchup. It's still a mismatch. We all know that, Tana. But at least now we can match speed with speed, right? So that would be your nickel linebacker. Nickel linebacker means you got 5 DBs on the field. We just brought an extra one out to the field. Now, the dime linebacker is basically the same thing because now we got all these crazy tight ends down here, right, Fred?
Yes.
These guys like Travis Kelce, guys that can move around. And so now we need to make sure this guy can match up with that same player, right? So Fred, instead of bringing another nickel, has to match up with a guy like me. And obviously there's a little bit of a size advantage for me here, right?
Yes, it is,
So we got to get a big guy that can cover and fit the run, and that's what your dime or star linebacker is. And so what we're going to do, Fred, is we're going to take a look at some Dallas Cowboy clips to make sure we understand the role. So let's start here. This is our dime player right here. Dime, we'll give him blue, okay? And our nickel player, we'll give him red. He's right here. So if you look, who's he covering, Tana?
Tight end.
He's covering the tight end because we want that big body. This guy's 6'4", right? Versus that big guy,
he
right?
is 6'4",
and we got a couple
235.
And we got a couple guys like that here, like Dominique Hampton, Jeremy Chin, and then we got our traditional nickel, think like Mike Sanderson up here. So watch how this develops. We're going to motion the tight end into the box here, motion in, and now we have to vacate the linebacker here. And who's in the linebacker spot now, Tana?
Curse. He has to replace.
So he has to fit the run like a linebacker and cover a tight end like a safety, right? So here he is, does a good job pushing off linemen, getting on the tackle, right? So that's one thing. Now let's take a look at the nickel, right? So he's matched up. Who's he matched up with, Tana?
Speed.
Speed on speed, baby.
Speed, right? And I was going to ask you, Tana, is there a difference between a nickel and an outside guy?
It all depends. I think certain teams will get their best outside guy and put him over into the slot because 9 times out of 10 they want the best coverer, sticking that guy.
You want your best football player because not only do you got to cover, you got to fit.
Tackle.
You got to fit runs,
do it
right?
all.
So watch this guy. He's on a blitz here. They bring him in. He gets in on this tackle. Great job. So you need kind of guys that are good coverage players, but also very physical. And I think in the draft we found 2 guys that can get that done. Let's start with Dominique Hampton. Here he is right here, number 7 for UW. It's the same, it's essentially the same play. They're going to flash motion this tight end across the formation like this, right? He becomes the linebacker. Now watch him have to know that he is no longer a contained fit. He now is an A-gap fit. Right, which is tough sledding.
No, he got to get there.
And so what he do? Gets in there, nice physical tackle, big body guy. Love to see it, right, Tanner?
His assignment,
And then we got our nickel guy. Nickel guy right here, Sanders still, and he is downhill to the football, right?
He believes what he sees at all time. If you look at him, his eyes is not on this running back. He's looking at this tackle. When that tackle leaves and goes forward, it's no longer a pass play.
I love that. And so basically 2 guys that have shown an ability to do what we need to do in this Dan Quinn defense, right? So now, let's look at the next sequence here. So where's our dime? Man-to-man over the tight end, right?
Yep.
Tight end.
Where's the nickel? He's right here. He's motioning with speed, right? He's always going to match with, he's a little bit of a better cover player, right?
Yep.
He's going to go with the receiver. So let's take a look at it. Fred, we're on different levels, right?
Yep, got to stay on different levels. If we're not going to box it and work together, independently, we all need to be on different levels.
And we just said we want our big guy covering their big guy.
Yes.
So let's make sure we get that done. So watch the length of Curse here. Watch him reach out and touch him with these long arms here. This is where the length and the size advantage is important. We're there together, step for step.
Yep.
Not a size mismatch. And then we got the speed up here with our guy, kind of making sure that we can get this taken care of here. You see that?
Yep.
That's what essentially nickel dime, right?
Yep.
Do we have guys that can get that done?
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
I think so.
Fred, talk me through this play real quick, right?
Yep.
He's matched on the tight end. It's cover 3.
And literally, he's covered 3, so he's covering an area, not a person.
Yeah.
But what he's doing a good job of is being patient and waiting on that person to come to him.
Yeah.
And now once the person comes to him, it goes from zone to man to man.
Yeah.
As you see that right there now. And this just length right here. Like, because it's a little bad technique right here. At the top of the route, he's almost beat right there, but he never quits. And then he breaks the ball up, and that's playing defensive back. It'll never be a perfect scenario, but you can end all plays just like this.
And that's where that big body comes in handy, right?
Yeah.
Because like as a tight end, I'm trying to box you out, but if you got the long arms to get around, you can get that done, right?
Big body, being relentless after the ball, man, that's a great play.
Yep.
And then we talk about our guy Mike Sanders still, right? Here he is in the slot. He's covered up on number 11 for UW was like their third down guy, like their Santana
and they get
guy.
him the ball quick.
So not only does he have to tackle versus runs, but we got to be great in coverage.
Yeah.
And so watch him. Good feet here, nice and tight, and then the ability to be physical and tackle short of the first down line, right?
Knowing where the stick's at.
Yeah.
And that's that dog, right? That's when that nickel player becomes such a valuable piece.
It has to be intelligent.
He
when you play
understood what he can give and what he couldn't.
Right.
You know what? I'm gonna be deep enough for you not to beat me here.
Yeah.
And you can have all this, and then once you do that, that
I'm
dog
coming down here.
That dog gonna hunt.
I love that. Again, so we got our dime guy. Where's he at?
Yep.
Easy. He's over the tight end, right?
You always can find him.
Our nickel guy, he's over speed, right?
Yep.
That's what we want to do. So we're going to run a little short motion here. And again, the thing I love, so great job, length on length here with the tight end. But the nickel player, man, that has to be, I just feel like it's got to be a dog.
No, it got to be. He got to be intelligent.
He's got to be a dog.
He got to be
He has
intelligent.
to be instinctive. He has to know football in and out. You know what I mean? We had guys like Fuller playing that position.
Yes. Yeah.
We had smart guys. D. Hall played that position at times. You got to be one of those
Sean
guys
Springs played.
that
You
know
gotta
how
be
to play the
intelligent.
game within the game.
Yes, and so the reason I think they got to be a dog is this guy who weighs 330 pounds is coming out to put some work on him, right?
Yes, he is.
But he's got, like you said, Fred, he's got to see the play, diagnose, get downhill, and make sure this excellent space player in Gibbs does not get ahead of steam and get a touchdown here. Great job getting through, draws a penalty, gets back up. Ooh, nice. Ooh, look at that pursuit there, though.
Yes, sir.
Get a little work there.
Is it football season? Right?
It was a couple of car crashes right there.
All right.
Yeah, but that's what the
mercy.
nickel's got to do. And our guy Sanderson, you know what they say? Maybe the best defensive back in the class here, which is what you were talking about. Sometimes you put your best guy in the slot there, and that's what he's doing here. Here he is. He's manning up on our guy number 11 again. That's their third down weapon. They're trying to run a screen. We got big offensive linemen out here. They're trying to get some work on our guy. He says, no, I'm crafty. I know the play. I've diagnosed
I'm going to stay ahead of the screen. That's the only way to beat screen plays is stay ahead of the screen.
And so I like that we've got a guy to fill the dime role, and it also could be Chin too, right?
Most definitely.
That tall, long, athletic body type.
Yeah.
But we've got a dog that can play nickel for us, right? The guy that can cover a Santana Moss, the guy that can fit a run, and then we've got that guy Dominique Hampton who can cover a tight end but also play linebacker for you. Gives you so much flexibility defensively, and I can't wait to see how Dan Quinn maximizes this skill set, guys.
Me too, bud.
Brian, back to you.
Great to hear those guys break down all things defensive backs related. So you know what? Let's look at the defensive backs we added through the draft and the undrafted rookie process. See some big names on that list. And one that I'm really, really excited about is our safety out of Washington, Dominique Hampton. He pulled up to the studio for Raising Hell with the Rookies. Check it out. It's time to just chill, brought to you by Steam Fitters. Steam Fitters Local 602 provides the highest level of HVAC and mechanical piping services. What's good, Commanders family? Brian Coble Jr. here, and I'm here to raise hell with our rookies. And we have no other than our safety, Dominique Hampton. Brother, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great. I appreciate you. Love being here.
Commanders family loves it, man. You already got a big fan base behind you, bro. That's excited to see you play, and that wants to ask you some questions, man. So I actually have a fan question for you right now, if you're ready.
Okay.
All right, let's get it.
You ready for it?
This is on Twitter on X from exclusively EBS. What was the most important thing you learned during rookie minicamp? Did anything surprise you?
First thing that surprised me was the rookie duties are real. You know, those are real. So me and Mike, we out there getting snacks for the DB group. That's when I realized I'm like, oh yeah, these rookie duties, that's a real thing. You know, but something that I learned was just like consistency is the best thing you can do. So showing yourself one play, you know, you show that speed one time, now they want to see every play.
Yeah.
You show you can cover one time, now you got to do it every time. So it's just being consistent in my technique, and I've been learning that from veterans, you know, making sure I do the same thing, the same processing, understand what I need to get done each play.
Hampton pulls up to Washington as the most utilized player in the University of Washington's history, which means he put that jersey on and touched that field more than anybody else in school history. He also was dominant in the national championship game with 10 total tackles and a pass deflection. And somebody that knows a little bit about being a rookie, that is our second-year defensive end, KJ Henry. As you can see right here, he says he hates us here, but we know he loves it. It looks like our defensive line did a bonding exercise and went go-karting, man. First question, man, who would win in go-karting between y'all three?
I'm more of a NASCAR guy.
No.
He more of a pickup truck guy. Taylor's built for speed and drive slow.
If a running Tanner would win.
That's what Fred had to answer immediately for that. And I understood that you guys. But see, it's all about
wins
bonding.
everything.
He wins everything, not in basketball.
This is what happens when you eat pumpkin pie.
So we're talking all about bonding, right? And we like to bond, but you guys also were rookies at that point and had to bond with each other. What were things you guys did as far as your position groups, as far as your teammates to bond?
We rolled dice. No, I'm messing. No, we played cards. We did a lot of things, I think, outside of, you know, I guess you can say the team atmosphere. But I think with the team atmosphere, they will always have a barbecue at the end of the week while we was up here doing OTA and stuff like that. So that was our bonding time, just to get familiar and, you know, have some good old barbecue, man.
Like, I would say, Tim just said it, man. You can't get any closer than sharing a meal with somebody that you're not at work. So what I used to do was invite everybody to my house. Everybody come to my house, we'll play cards, we'll talk trash, we'll eat. And the more normal things you do, the more normalcy you have. Like the one thing you will do in this game, you'll watch your brother's back. Well, he can't become your brother if y'all don't spend no time together.
Yeah, and obviously you go bowling or whatever, but I think the most impactful thing was when the veteran in the room would be like, hey man, come to my house, we're gonna have some dinner. And it's just something easy, right? Just hang out for a couple hours. That was the most fun in terms of bonding, because you get to see people kind of with their guard down, you get to talk, get to build those relationships.
And Fred, you're still the veteran in the room, man. We appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
That bonding is so big, especially when it comes to our rookies. But our rookies didn't just get to bond with each other. They got to bond with the community as well. And you know what? We pulled up to do the same. Check it out.
We are here at the Rocket Rise Academy for our Big Dig event hosted by the Washington Commanders Foundation.
When I say rocket, you say ship. Rocket, ship, rocket, ship.
About a week ago, this was just dirt, but we are building a garden for the community, not only so kids can learn how to grow things, but also take the things they are learning in school and adapt it to real life scenarios.
My grandma always say, if you can grow food together, you can give love together. I like to get out here and I like to watch things grow. And to watch things grow, you got to nurture them. And that's the biggest lesson we're taking out of this.
We didn't want to just, you know, come here and play ball, but we stayed afterwards because, you know, this community meant so much to us. So it's a pleasure to be out here, man, and I'm looking forward to more opportunities like this.
I remember my first influence with a pro athlete. You can't believe it. Anything that we can do, and especially when it comes to this gardening tip, seeing things that grow, knowing that you actually have a hand in something that blossoms, that blooms, mind-boggling.
If you're blessed, you should be a blessing. And that's what we were trying to be out here. Come out here and help build some things that kids can learn from. Things that they can go out there and broaden their horizon with, to go out and do some good things in this world.
And there's so many people and communities that are impacted by this team. And so it is our responsibility to get back in those communities and not just leverage that platform on Sundays, but leverage it Monday through Saturday and in the off season.
We want to show up in a way that's meaningful to people. This is very literally leaving something behind that will last for a long time. And this is just the beginning of it. It's just the beginning of the impact they want to have.
Together, we can make things that are really beautiful and are really special and are very lasting. That garden really represents all of us together. And we are gonna keep doing this, and we're gonna keep being involved, and we're gonna keep cheering on the community and our team. And together, as this team wins championships, the city's gonna win too. So thank you.
Commanders family, that's it for us out at Rocket Rise Academy. We built a garden just last week. This was just dirt, and now it is becoming a garden. Shout out to the rookies. Shout out to Miss Harris and Mr. Harris. Shout out to Jason Rice. Shout out to everybody that came here and made this event possible. Until next Thursday, Commanders family, we out.
Join me as I take a deep dive into the least insulted ticketing app in history, SeatGeek. Did SeatGeek invent the ticket?
No, but we do make them work.
Drum roll, please. Ooh, how do I use the Seat View feature?
It shows seats with a pole blocking the view. Don't buy those.
What if I want to sit behind a pole?
Buy those.
Join me as I bore you to death with a series of interviews about a ticketing app that just does what it's supposed to do.